Tampa Bay used to be known as a hidden gem, an affordable place to move to Florida on a budget, but that just isn't quite the reality anymore. And before you move here, you need to understand the true cost of living in the Tampa Bay area because it might surprise you. Hi, my name is Celia. I'm a realtor here in Tampa Bay, and I'm making this video so that you can understand the true cost of living and everything you need to know before making the move to the Tampa Bay area. Today, I'm breaking down the real cost of living in the Tampa Bay area. Everything from mortgage rates to groceries to insurance to fuel costs, all of the expenses that you can expect before you make the move here. Let's start with the biggest expense, which of course is going to be housing. So the median home price in the Tampa Bay area is from 375 to 450K. That has risen quite a bit in the last couple of years due to demand. And if you're going to be renting, you can look to spend at least 1,800 to 2,200 for a decent one bedroom. And if you want to live in the more popular areas such as Water Street, it's going to cost you more. Now, sometimes people are surprised to learn that property taxes are fairly moderate here. Not only can you homestead your property to ultimately benefit from tax exemptions, but there is also a cap here in Florida that says when your property is homesteaded, your assessed value can only increase by a maximum of 3% every year. So you're not going to see the huge jumps in the property taxes from year to year when your property is homesteaded. To homestead your property, you need to have it as a primary residence, so this does not apply to investment properties. Florida is also working to eliminate non-school property taxes here, and so we'll see what happens there, but this expense could actually go down drastically here coming up if that law is passed ultimately. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The insurance. Insurance is one of those sneaky costs that can kind of surprise people when they go to buy a home here. Home insurance here can look like about $2,500 to $6,000 a year, again, depending on where you buy and what you buy. But here's the kicker. If you live in a flood zone, that is a huge additional expense that you have to plan for. There are plenty of properties that you can buy that are not in flood zones, but it is something to be mindful and that people run into during their home search in this area. The other nuance to consider about your home search here is that there are a lot of older historic homes in Florida that either are a great opportunity to fix them up and increase the home value or that have been renovated. But either way, those older homes do often mean higher insurance costs. The other cost to be aware of is utilities. Now, it's not that the electric costs more than it does in other areas of the country, but if you are moving from a cold climate state, think about in the summer, in the heat peak season, how much it costs to keep your home cool, and then think about paying that monthly cost for the majority of the year because, of course, here in Florida, the climate's really warm, which is a pro for a lot of people to move here, but it does often mean a more expensive electric bill. Now, let's talk about your day-to-day living expenses. Groceries, for example, tend to be slightly higher than the national average as far as price here in the Tampa Bay area. However, if you're like me and you like to get savvy with your grocery bill, Aldi, Costco, there are lots of different options to keep your grocery bill affordable no matter where you live. The price of gas is typically around average across the US here in the Tampa Bay area, and dining out is also pretty typical. I would say you can expect about $15 to $25 at a mid-range restaurant, looking more at 30 to 50 at a higher end place. Of all the places that I've traveled in the US, it doesn't seem to be more expensive. Pretty much average is what you can expect. However, I will say from somebody who relocated, when you move to a new place, it is so fun and exciting to try all the new restaurants. So you might want to work that into your budget when you plan to move here. Transportation. The Tampa Bay area is somewhere where you absolutely need a car. This is not a New York or a Chicago where you can get around um, by walking everywhere, or that it's normal to only use rideshare. Everybody here pretty much uses a car. And so you have to factor that expense in, as well as car insurance, because it does tend to be a bit higher than the national average here in the Tampa Bay area. Now, one pro to consider as far as the cost of living here in the Tampa Bay area is that if you are moving from out of state, you can expect no state income tax in Florida, which does give you a little extra breathing room as far as your monthly expenses. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but I will say that from someone who moved from a higher income state to Florida, it definitely does make a noticeable difference. So if you buy a home within the median range, and of course it will depend on how much you're putting down and the mortgage rate that you happen to get, but factoring in all of your monthly expenses, you can expect your monthly expenses to be around $5,500 here in the Tampa Bay area. Again, just as a very general average. So, is Tampa Bay really an affordable place to live? I guess it totally depends on where you buy, and what your lifestyle looks like. If you're moving from somewhere like the Northeast or California, then this might actually seem pretty cheap to you, knowing that the cost of living can be very expensive in those places. If you're moving to the Tampa Bay area and you want support in figuring out your monthly budget, especially when it comes to housing, I would love to be a resource to you. My name is Celia Veldhuis-Kroeze. I'm a Tampa Bay realtor here in the area, and you can start working with me by texting Tampa to 612-963-8420, and I'd be happy to have a conversation and help you on your home buying journey.